Hello, America, and welcome back to the Older Bulls podcast. My name is Guy Calisi, and I am your host. Tonight's conversation, or monologue, I guess, is going to be, I've titled it A Frank Conversation on Parenting. But I would like to start by addressing all of my fathers out there. I want to say that if you are currently or have outsourced your parenting responsibilities to your spouse, stop it. Parenting is a two-person job, at least. Preferably one person with a masculine energy and one with a feminine energy. You can split other responsibilities like laundry, cooking, bill paying, house maintenance, all of those other chores. But parenting takes two. The statistics are there about two-parent households and how they are much more beneficial for the children growing up than single-parent households. So I'll get into that in another podcast. The tides have changed, in the 50s and 60s. I think it was 60 to 70% of all households were with two parents in them. And now I think it's significantly different. I think it's 50 to 60% single parent households, which changes the game totally. So I just wanted to start by saying that because it is an incredibly crucial detail to what I'm going to say. Dads, if you feel that mom can do a better job at parenting, you're selling yourself short. Don't do that. And you're selling your kids short too, because they're the ones who are going to pay the price for that. One other note is that if you are a single parent, whether you're a mother or a father, it doesn't matter. Be a mother or be a father. Don't try to be both. None of us can be both. So be the best dad that you can be the best mom you can be. Don't worry about the other half. You can't do that. You can't take care of it, nor is it your responsibility. Okay, so let's get on to what I wanted to talk about tonight. My first thought or question, I should say, is how many children are just born with bad character, with a bad attitude? Kids come a certain way, I get that. But yes, I totally agree with you. None. Character is a learned behavior, which we accumulate through life choices, good and bad. Character is not defined by the choices we make, rather by what we do after we make those choices. So when I am sitting across from a parent, those of you who don't know, I am a teacher. I've been a teacher for 30 years, taught from 1st through 8th grade for the last 30 years. When I'm sitting across from a parent and I'm discussing the poor choices their child has been making, either in class or at home, the subsequent consequences of those choices, am I really talking about the child, or am I commenting on the parenting skills or lack thereof of the said parent that I'm having this conversation with? I'm really leaning towards the latter of those two choices. Young children need to be coached, for you athletes listening out there, or directed. They need real, live role models. I know when I was growing up, I came from a broken home, boo-hoo. My parents got divorced when I was 3. I had a stepfather by the time I was 4.5, maybe. Never got along. That's another podcast, all in and of itself. But when I was growing up, athletics, sports, teams are what made me who I am today. So those men who were my coaches became my uncles, became my surrogate fathers, so to speak. I saw my real father a month out of the year, every 12 months. That's when I saw him, from the age of 3 on. So I needed something, and I got it from being involved in team sports. The camaraderie, The leadership, the discipline, all of that stuff was really important to me. So young children need to be coached or directed. They need real live role models. We can talk all day about the child and how he doesn't seem to care, doesn't have a work ethic, shows no signs of responsibility or accountability, and God knows where he picked up his manners from. Definitely his mom's side, I would say. Junior doesn't seem to know how to be socially appropriate, the parents say to me. Only interested in what is best for him or what he wants. He seems so materialistic and shows no empathy whatsoever for those who have less or nothing at all. He's so selfish, just wants to be entertained all of the time, has zero respect, or for that matter, awareness of the role of authority figures. He always seems to be victimized by his own choices. He can't seem to find the relationship between what he does and the ensuing consequences. Wow, it's a tragedy. It's a very sad story. Okay. Oh my, I would say, sounds like he doesn't have a lot of good examples being set for him. You see, I think it's one thing to work hard on instilling all of these qualities upon our children or in our children by walking the walk. But if you think you can just expect your children to come out the way you think they should, without any front end loading, you have another thing coming, and it's not going to be pretty. I have so many stories about parents who come to me asking why their children act the way they do. All I usually need to do is reflect on their personal childhoods. It goes something like this. So you say that you had to work for everything and you were given nothing. You say you had to be a contributing member of the family, that your contributions were real and meaningful. You say that you were expected to act a certain way or there would be consequences, no ifs, ands, or buts. Just a sidebar question here for those of you who are listening. Since when does being stern or tough with our children exclude us from loving them or doing right by them? Those two things are not mutually exclusive, I don't think. Having expectations is being respectful of your children's future behavior. The word discipline seems to invoke fear in adults, as though it's a terrible thing. Leadership and love actually go hand in hand. We lead because we love and care about how our children will present to the world outside of our houses. Proper parenting is an act of love towards your neighbor. Do you get that? You don't want your kid to grow up to be an ass. So we're doing our neighbors a favor by making sure that that doesn't happen. However, our children, while they're at home, they will take that show, however they are, however they act at home, they will inevitably take that show on the road and share it with the world. Good, bad, indifferent. I think a lot of parents feel that discipline is something that takes away a child's free will. Okay, well, I've got news for you. After 30 years of teaching, I can tell you positively, it's impossible to kill free will. Impossible. I've been accused of doing it, and I have been unsuccessful. I think another misunderstanding about parenting is that we're supposed to understand our children, and that's just not true. We're supposed to understand what's best for them and help them to become responsible adults. That's it. Another thing I know, some of you are saying right now, as a matter of fact, is, well, I want to give my child the right to question my authority. I guess this one is commonly thought. Well, I get this one a lot, actually. Parents will say to me, they'll go on to say, I don't think I should ever just say no without an explanation. I said, good luck with that. But if it's worked for you, congratulations. And your kids have turned out to be upstanding adults, then great. I'm not going to beat on you about that. I believe in more of a parenting as a benevolent dictatorship, not a democracy. Because I don't think children have any business making decisions when they lack the experience needed to do so. When our children make it to adolescence, it's a different story. Oh, there's a little more room for discussion at that time in adolescence. But one of my favorite stories with my adolescent son goes like this. It was Friday night, and he told me that he was going to be getting home after midnight. First mistake. He's telling me rather than saying, would it be okay? I have a problem with that. I said, absolutely not. You'll be home by 11. He went on to say, Dad, we're all going to be together. We're just going to be at John's house. We're not going anywhere. So I'll just come right from his house. I said, you can come right from his house at 10:50 and be home at 11. He went on to say, Dad, don't you trust me? I don't get why I just can't stay out until 12. I said, I trust you to be 15 years old. There's a curfew. You need to be home at 11. End of story. I got a funny story about questioning our authority as parents as well that I want to share. I think it's funny. I hope you do too. The first example is a military example from one of my friends. And I get it. There are a lot of people out there who say, oh, well, this isn't the military. You can't do this. You can't do it that way. Our kids aren't soldiers. But discipline is discipline, and right behavior is right behavior, period. And I don't care how you sugarcoat it. That's the truth. Okay, so the story goes like this. But first, the military example. Wait a minute, I forgot. Let me go back to that. A private never questions a sergeant, okay, or a general. He can disagree in his mind. He can even disobey, but he doesn't question. So this is my story. My story about questioning authority is, it's a simple one. When my daughter was, I can't remember, 4 or 5 maybe, she asked me if we could go for ice cream. And I said, no. Well, she put on her little pouty face and went into the whole, but Daddy, why can't we get ice cream? I have 3 children, so I've been down this road before, and it's usually around ice cream or donuts at the time. And I think I had been teaching for 15 years or so as well. The same thing happens with my students at school. Whenever the answer was no, the first question out of their mouth was, why? Well, I started to think about it. And when the answer was yes, I never got a why. They never wanted an explanation for why I said yes. Only when I said no. Well, from that day on, I made a rule in my house and in my class that if you're going to ask why when I say no, you also need to ask why when I say yes. Because I know you guys have figured this out. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. They're not really asking why I said no. They're just trying to make you change your mind, trying to get me to change my mind. They want a yes, period. They follow the Godfather principle. They are little criminals at this age when they're that young, toddler age, 2, 3, maybe up to 4 or 5, maybe, who do not believe that they should ever have to take no for an answer. I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. They're like little mobsters. Nobody has the right to stand in their way. They deserve whatever they want. Rules don't apply to them. They will manipulate, try to negotiate, and if that doesn't work, have a full-on temper tantrum. They don't do it consciously before the age of 6 or 7. It's totally unconscious. But they want what they want, and they'll do whatever they have to do to get what they want. It's our job to be effective parents. To be great leaders, we need to love our children enough to help them to be good citizens, to be humble, to be empathetic. Giving them what they want all of the time doesn't result in that kind of an adult. Oh, I just, I want to continue with this whole frank conversation on parenting. So you say, I just want them to be happy. Who doesn't want this for their child? But there is a dear price for this temporary fantasy of happiness. You see, at some point, they are going to come up against rough times or moments of doubt when they need strength of character to get through. True grit, if you will. And guess what? They're going to crumble, or at the very least, have a very difficult time. No practice dealing with failure or even minor setbacks creates fragile children, little china teacups. They will have great difficulty dealing with everyday run-of-the-mill frustrations that life is bound to throw their way because they happen every day. Another example, I see this happen a lot, and it's happened to me as a parent and as a teacher. It's definitely a sign, in my opinion, that we're paying way too much attention to our children. When things go wrong for our children, it's all turned to us, the parents, or the teachers for that matter. And I get this in both of my lives, my teaching life and my parenting life. These are the things that come out of the mouths of these children. Well, you never showed me how. I didn't know I was supposed to. Whatever it is, whatever the responsibility is deflected at the parent. It's the parent's fault now, but that's just the first part. Wait for it. If we allow them to continue in this way, what we are doing is putting the blame for something that they didn't figure out or they didn't do on our shoulders. If we are doing this, we're enabling them, okay? So if we allow them to continue in this way, what we're doing is enabling their lack of responsibility by shouldering their responsibilities, us, taking the blame for them. If we do, they're off the hook scot-free. So if we take the blame for whatever it is they're saying was our fault, they're off scot-free. And maybe some of us even feel a little guilty and say things like, yeah, you know what? I never told you that. You're right. I really didn't. Sorry, I'll make sure that I'm more clear in my explanation next time. Maybe I'll write it all out and maybe I'll type it out. Would that be better? And I'll put it on the refrigerator, or maybe I'll email it to you. Would that be easier for you? Okay. This kind of interaction creates a victim mentality in our children. People who feel very little accountability or responsibility to be accountable. Okay, so you say when your mom or dad got mad, you were a little scared. You say that when my mom or dad said something, we never thought of being disrespectful. We knew better, you say. So do you think this is the childhood Junior, your son, daughter, is experiencing? Oh, I see. You don't want him to work as hard or be scared of his parents or have to feel bad or suffer. But you say that you did. And let me see if I have this straight. You want him to be the person that you are, but without all the sacrifices, struggles, and strains. Again, I say good luck with that. Something I tell the mothers of my students and the women who are my friends is that your children should be a little afraid of you. I have two stories here, and one is a personal one, and the other one is a co-teacher's of mine story, her relationship with her two sons. They're both in their mid-20s. big strapping young gentlemen who are still a little scared of their mother when she gives them that glare. That's great for a couple of reasons. When a mother commands the respect of her children by owning her authority as a parent, what she's doing is creating this healthy relationship between this boy and his mom, which will really end up relating to his relationships with women as he gets older. Especially for her sons, this relationship is healthy. How they're going to treat women when they get older is usually indicative of how they treated their mother. I think too many parents today have turned into vending machines for their children, or they just go up to mom or dad and press a few buttons and get what they want. Our children have been taught that they are to be served, that they just need to figure out which button to press to get what they want. I mean, you get that at home. I taught with my wife for a long time. So we had the mom and dad thing in the classroom for a long time. And we would get the same thing. You know, if Mr. Khaleesi doesn't say yes, I'm going to go try Mrs. Khaleesi and maybe she'll say yes. Happens at home too. It's the same thing. They're going to try to get what they want. They're going to try to get the answer they're looking for. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you don't have to give them the answer that they're looking for. Okay, so I don't think this is what we want in our children, is it? No. The second story is about my mother, who was not a yeller by any means. I don't think she even hit me one time. I don't even think she even raised a hand. But when she went silent, it was like the calm before the storm. I knew something was going to happen and it wasn't going to be good. I think we should use the parenting confusion principle. It's the ideology that I think would be the best for parenting. We don't want to be predictable. We don't want our children to be able to figure out what we're going to do and when we're going to do it, because that is no way, shape, or form the way that life actually is. It will never prepare them for real life. In real life, we just have to be ready for whatever comes our way. I think children need to be in the same position. Again, what our job is as parents, if it's not to prepare them for being adults, successful adults, contributing adults, what is our job? We want them to become independent and be able to stand on their own. So, what's happened to us is what I'm asking as parents. And I'm not doing any, generational parent bashing here. That's not what I mean. We're raising a generation of just soft kids with weak character that have absolutely no adversity in their lives because we make sure of it. My hat is off to those of you who are fighting the good fight, but it's a lonely road. You are currently in the minority if you actually say no to your children. Listen, all I'm trying to say is that building good character is an individual's work. We can't do it for our children. We can only assist by demonstrating and providing ample opportunities for successes and failures from which they can gather what they need to construct themselves. How that looks or pans out is not up to us, nor can we take sole credit or blame for our kids being good or bad. One of the most important people in my life told me during my early years of teaching that our children are not ours. They're these universal free spirits that we have to prepare to stand on their own 2 feet, ready to contribute to the community at large. We need to give them the tools to be humble and empathetic human beings who have free will to make their own decisions and life choices. That's it. And I feel that we only have about 12 years to do that. I think after 12, if you haven't laid a good, solid foundation, it's not impossible after 12. It's just a whole lot harder. By laying down a strong foundation based in love and strong leadership with discipline, we can do just that. It's important that we do not make our children extensions of us. We should not live our lives vicariously through our children. In my experience, I have seen parents more excited about their children's accomplishments than their children are. Something's just not right about that. So let's wrap this all up, folks. Which little pig is Junior going to be? A character of hay? Let's just get this thing done because I want to go out and play. Twigs, maybe. Sturdy, but will it stand up to the big winds? Or brick? Time and patience are needed for this one, but it is a sturdy building and it will stand the test of the elements and time. Doesn't seem like a tough choice. The tough part is the sustained effort involved, both on our children's part as well as our own. I believe it's worth the effort, but don't fall into the be a perfect parent trap, please. You just need to be a good enough parent. So lighten up, parent like an uncle or an aunt. Well, that's what I think, and I'm sticking to it. See you next time, America.